I am here to introduce you to one of our latest features that we've implemented with our IMAGINiT Revit Utilities. Before I get into it, I just remind you of all the other types of features that we've been developing over the years. Many of the features and tools that we've been implementing with our utilities really have been a focus around helping you increase your productivity, helping you clean up, manage, and automate tasks within your Revit models. And this latest tool will continue down that same premise. The tool I'm going to talk to you about is the Merge Cleanup tool. Over the years, we have been always challenged with several limitations to working with Revit, especially when it comes to cleaning a model. One of them usually revolves around things like, how do I purge line patterns? Or how do I clean up line or materials or anything that's extra, it's unneeded? Some things can be purged out of a Revit model, some things cannot. So as an example, we have line patterns. Throughout the course of a project, our projects may be burdened with unnecessary line patterns, especially if we're bringing things like AutoCAD or MicroStation files in. And in order to get rid of them, it's a single delete at a time line. So you can't shift, you can't purge, you can't do bulk cleanouts of things like line patterns. So in order to clean this out, you'd have to do one at a time. And also the challenge is that if I delete this, is this line pattern being used somewhere in my project? I don't know. So before you go deleting a line pattern, you have to kind of make sure somewhere in your project that that line pattern is being used. So that's where our utility merge cleanup tool comes into play. To demonstrate that, there are 4 areas we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about materials, line styles, line patterns, and text styles. So let's start with materials. You'll notice that right off the bat, the utilities has already identified what we call duplicates. Anytime you have 2 patterns or 2 materials that have the same characteristics, they may be the same color, the same patterns, the same, let's take a look at, for example, metal stud layer and furring. And you can actually use the compare tool down here to look at both of those materials. And within here, there's a lot of data in here. Some data is going to be more important to you than others. And as you look through here, you may find the information you're interested in comparing. But if the property data gets a little too long or it's a little bit too much information for you to want to look at, you can actually narrow it down to find out exactly what makes these 2 materials different by using the Show Only Differences command. Now, looking at these 2 materials, there's really only 4 items that make them different. An ID number, 2 ID numbers, and 2 names. Other than that, they're essentially the same material. Now, you may decide that, well, do I need a stud layer and do I need a furring material? If you decided that you don't need both of them, then you can decide to what we call merge them together. If we look at some other ones here, let's take a look and see what other. This one's quite a bit of similarity amongst many different materials. Now, I don't know which ones are being used and which ones are not being used. So to help me identify what's being used and not being used, I will use the Analyze All button. And I'll go ahead and click on this. And now it'll start processing. Sometimes with smaller projects, it may take like 30 seconds. Some projects that are a little larger, a little more complicated, may take like 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause my video right now, and I will resume it when the analysis is done. Okay, now that the analysis is done, I have a better understanding of what's being used and not used. If I come back over here to my stud layer, it's being used 22 times, and my metal furring is only being used 8 times. If I expand it, I can tell you a little bit more in depth exactly how it's being used. Wall materials, ceiling materials. Down here we got more wall materials. So if I wanted to merge those 2, I can do that. If I look down here where I was looking at the other one, there's air barriers, vapor, structure, miscellaneous. A lot of them, only about 2 or 3 of them are being used, while the other ones are not being used. So they're kind of redundant and maybe unnecessary, and maybe you don't need them anymore. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the metal stud layers here. And if I want to merge them together, I will just go ahead and select those two. And I will now be able to use the merge command. We'll go ahead and run that. Now, before I commit to anything, I need to decide which layer or which material do I want to keep, which one do I want to get rid of. So I'm going to go ahead and select, since it's used 22 times versus 8 times on the furring, I'll go ahead and keep my metal stud layer and use the merge command. And just like that, I now have 44 combined objects into one material. Let's move on to our line styles. So looking here, this again, depending upon, like I said, you're bringing in materials or AutoCAD files or other type from different sources, you may get different line styles. In this case, again, I'm going to go ahead and analyze them all. And we'll see how there's 19 different styles. And very quickly, it's already done. And let's see, here's an example of one, a detail thin. So that was a line style brought in from an AutoCAD file. And I know that I've got 184. I'd like to merge them with the Autodesk out-of-the-box version of thin. And so I will look for the one with the brackets here. And we got lines, and we've got medium lines. I'll go ahead and merge it with lines here. So I'll take those two together, and I will merge those by using the merge command. Again, since we can't purge or get rid of the out-of-the-box versions, we'll pick the Autodesk line style here, and then that means the detail thin is the one that's going to be removed. And just like that, it's gone, and now they've all been moved over to the Autodesk default lines style. Continue on with the same next one here for line patterns. Again, it went out and found some duplicate here for line patterns, like overhead and overhead 32. Let's go ahead and do an analysis. Again, depending upon the size of your project, the analysis may be 30 seconds or maybe a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this video for a second, and I'll resume when the analysis is done. All right, now the analysis is done. We'll come back over here and look at that overhead and the overhead 32. And you can see it's used 14 times, but 0 in the other one. So one of them is essentially unnecessary and redundant. So just like before, I'll go ahead and select the two that I want to merge again. Or maybe let's see, there's other ones here. Let's take a look and see what other ones are being used. Just looking at what other things we have. So, okay, let's go ahead and do our overhead, and our overhead 30 seconds. Go ahead and use the merge command, and I'll go ahead and keep the overhead one as my primary, and we'll go ahead and run it, and it's done. All right, and one last one here. We'll go ahead and look at the text styles, and here we have text styles. We've got some duplicates here. We've got some aerial plus schedule default. We've got DG dims and 330 seconds aerial 1. And we have a couple other ones here. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of quickly demonstrate. I won't go through analysis again. I'll just go ahead and pick these two and just do a comparison of them. And let's look at what's the difference, what differences. Other than an ID number, they're essentially the same. They've got the same characteristics as far as are they underlined or not underlined, are they bold, not bold, the size of the text, the size of the tab. So essentially they're the same. So I'll go ahead now and let's do a quick analyze. And I'll go ahead and use the merge command. And we'll keep the 330 seconds. and merge them together, and now they're done. So that concludes the new features for the Merge Cleanup tool. I hope you found this helpful. And of course, anytime you would like a more deeper discussion about our utilities, feel free to reach out to us. And thank you very much.